Hey, what's up, guys and gals? This is Trav. Today is going to be part one of a short mini-series on creating a perimeter. Alright, so if you're here, that means you're interested in creating a perimeter. Now, obviously, I play on PlayStation, but a lot of these points are going to hold true to no matter what console you're on. But if you do play on PlayStation, you can breathe a sigh of relief because I know what you're going through if you're interested in doing this, so we can learn from each other. So, the first thing I want to do is set the framework, okay? We talked about in the last video what the purposes of a perimeter are. On this video, I want to discuss preparation and some of the first steps you're going to take. And in the next video, we'll get into creating the digger that we're going to use on console to establish the perimeter, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so let's start off. The very first thing is you had to figure out, if you're building a perimeter, what's it going to be for? And that's going to help you determine where it needs to go. Oftentimes they're built around witch huts, but that's not necessarily the case. You know, maybe you want a perimeter to do other things, you know, or just a room for mob farms or whatever else you might want one for. But for this example, we're going to use a witch hut. All right, so what you could do, and what I did, is I made a copy of my survival world, and I opened that copy in creative mode. And if I haven't fully explored my survival world, this is also important, then look around and look all over your map and see where the witch huts are. Okay, if you're lucky on console, you might find a double witch hut perimeter. I've heard of them, I haven't seen them. On PC with unlimited worlds, you can find quad hut perimeters. They're rare, but you can find them. But on PC, I wouldn't do anything less than a double. But ideally, you'd find at least a triple. Okay, so find the witch hut that you want to build, or multiple witch huts that you want to build your perimeter around. One reason I chose this one here is because it also had, down this way, it had a pillager tower. And I wanted to make my survival perimeter large enough to encompass them both. However, when I loaded it up in my actual survival world, this pillager tower was not here. So instead, I stuck with a 300 by 300 around this. Okay, so once you've determined where you're going to build it, what it's going to focus on, okay, so let's say a single witch hut. Then you need to get your dimensions. All right, if it's a double witch hut, then you're going to add to these dimensions, and we'll cover that. Okay, so the point of it is if, like, let's say this is the center spot, which it is, represented by this piece of sand, then I need to go at least 128 blocks in all directions to prevent spawning. To make it easy, we're going to go 150 because the walls aren't going to be exactly clean, and it gives you a little bit of buffer room. Okay, so we're going to add 150 to all X and Z coordinates. So if we were to go up, we're going from 620, and we'll go up all the way to 470. And then south, we're going to go all the way to 770. Okay, and then we're at negative 822, so we'll add going west. Or, no, I'm sorry. We're going to subtract. I'm backwards. Anywho, we're going to go from 822 to 672, and then all the way up to 972. Okay. So that gives us our boundaries. Now, if it's a double witch hut, you're going to have to go, like, if this is the west witch hut, then I'm going to have to go 150 from the west one. And if the other witch hut's over there, I'm going to have to go 150 from that one. Okay, so I'm going to have to compensate for it. So the first thing I would do is, now that you have your coordinates, go to the northeast corner. Okay, and mark it. And that's what this is. So we're in the northeast corner, and we have it marked. All right, and then do the same for the southwest corner. We're going to start digging our hole on the northeast corner. Okay, so that being said, this is where I've made my little home base here, with a portal so I can get to my normal base. Okay, I've got a crafting bench. I've got my ender chest. I've got a couple normal chests for shulkers. They're empty shulkers. And I got shulkers of all the materials I'm going to be needing, and a bed. And make sure you make this where it's kind of safe. A lot of this stuff you might prefer to do on passive. Oh, hold on, let's go to this raid. A lot of it I did on passive, especially on console where you can't have passive mob switches. You know, but if not, make sure it's protected here. So anyway, make sure you know, bring everything you need, and more of that's going to make sense as we go. Okay, and as we start building in the next few videos, as we start building, you're going to get a better idea of all the things you need. But to start, you know, have a mini base, and then have sponges, as many sponges as you can get your hands on. Okay, so you've got yourself your little base established, and make sure it's a little bit away from the corner of your perimeter, so when TNT drops nearby, it's not going to blow the damn thing up. Okay, so then what next thing you do is you've got your boundary blocks. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'll fly around inside this perimeter, and I'll find the highest point in the perimeter, a tree, a hill, you know, whatever it is. I'm going to find the highest point within this whole perimeter. Okay, and I'm going to write it down, or I'll take note of it. So let's say it's on this. All right, so top of this tree here is Y89. Okay, well, that's where I'm standing, is Y89. So this is important because we want to be able to drop TNT at this height and not blow up the flying machine above it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 20 to this. So Y109. So that's going to be the height at which our flying machines are going to first cover the perimeter at Y109. And that way, when they drop TNT on this, it's not to a point where, here, let's it's safe if they're up here. There's no concern about the flying machines being damaged, because that's the last thing you want to do. So make sure you find the highest point and do that, add 20. So then what we do is we go back to the northeast corner, and scaffolding works great for this. Bring some scaffolding, put a little bit away from the corner so you don't blow it up, and build scaffolding all the way up to that height. All right, and then this is going to be a working platform for building your first digger. And then we're going to get into the digger in the next video, actually building the digger. But this is set up so that way we could start building this digger at a height that's not going to blow itself up. Okay? And then the next digger is going to be built below that. So you've got the height established, you've got the X, Y, and Z all established. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do, and you can see I've made it where I'm going to start building this and give myself a little bit of a buffer. Yes, it's a 300 by 300 hole, but if I bring this first digger out a little bit, the second digger is actually going to be inside of it a little bit. So let's say the first digger drops TNT along this line. You know, the second one might actually come and drop it along this line. So I'm giving myself a little bit of a buffer, okay, because we're approaching the boundary. So anyway, you've got this. Now what you're going to do, I know I need to stop the digger at Y109. I'm going to go to the opposite corner now. All the way over here. And you can see I've marked this one. Here's going to be this corner. I'm going to favor a little extra, and I'm going to build a little tower of obsidian. The important thing is you have obsidian where the flying machine's going to be. So you could skip some of it and have obsidian at around like 108, 109. But anyway, I just built this whole tower of obsidian all the way up to the point where it's going to stop the flying machines. So that way they're going to go all the way around, up and down this perimeter, and they're going to come down here and they're going to hit this and stop. So it keeps them from just going forever. Okay? So that's the point of that. So now we have the boundary for the flying machines done on both sides. So those are covered. Okay? So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to come back to your witch hut. Now, witches have boundaries for their spawns. Okay? And the way this works is to allow for 3 floors, which is the max you can get. I've got them labeled in these gold blocks. Okay, so the first ones are going to go right on top of his porch, just like that. And they're going to be 7 wide and 9 long, and they're just wrapping around the witch hut. Okay, and they're going to be 2 spaces in between. So they're going to go all the way from Y64, at least for this witch hut, and then it's going to go, all the way up to 80? No, 70, I'm sorry. All the way to 70. Okay, so you're going to find your witch hut and write all this stuff down in your notebook, because eventually this thing's going to be blown up. You know, it's just better to be safe than sorry. So you write all this stuff down. That's where your floors are going to be once you start building your witch hut. Um, if you play on PC and you have a big world and you have several witch huts you can choose from, maybe you find one that's a little bit lower in Y value than another. You know, that's always better because the lower the Y value, the better. But it's not going to make a huge difference as far as rates. So once you have that, you have all your boundaries, you have all your numbers and parameters in place, then you're going to start prepping for your diggers. Now, you can't run the diggers. We're going to be running on console with all this liquid. It's one thing if you have a world eater, but we don't. Okay, so then that means the fun part begins that I know you're all looking forward to, and that's clearing this whole swamp of water. Okay, so have as many sponges as you can, do it in sections, and take a solid, it's going to take you, a full day, 2 days, just depends on how much time you get to play, to drain all this water, okay? And then favor yourself. I could see my boundary is going to be right around here. Well, TNT is going to blow it up if I build the wall, if I build the wall here, TNT is going to blow that up. So I'm going to favor it a few and actually build the wall, a few spaces away. And then I'll drain everything on the interior of the wall. Does that make sense? So when TNT drops here, no liquid is going to, we're not going to have any issues with liquid falling. Okay? So that's how I did it. I went and drained everything first. So then the next thing is you have a couple choices there. You could start your diggers and start running your operation from there if you want. And that's what one option you can do is if you were to, you could dig out the walls to begin with. So maybe you put a couple beacons down each side and dig out the walls if you want a nice, neat looking perimeter. And you go out and actually dig the walls all the way down to bedrock, all the way down, up and down both sides. Okay, if you want to do that, it's completely optional. You can also build walls later or just leave it jagged. It doesn't matter. And then one other thing you could do, if you're taking the time to make it pretty like that, you could put down ice and break this. I don't think it works on creative, but you could break this then and have it drain over the walls. So then that way you're protecting your walls that are nice and neat as your diggers fly back and forth. So that's something you could do if you want nice, neat walls. If you're digging those trenches by hand, you have that option. It's up to you. Or you could just not worry too much about it. So then drain the swamp. And I think that's pretty much gets you ready to use the digger. Okay? And then the digger I'm going to have in the next video is going to be a tutorial on how to get that thing started. So to kind of recap here, identify the location you want to build your perimeter, come up with your boundaries, all right, all your boundaries including Y, set up your limiters for your digger. So on northeast corner is where we're going to start the building. Southwest corner is where it's going to stop. Gather up all the materials you're going to need. Get them all in the northeast corner safely away. And then go ahead and drain the swamp. All right, and then you're ready to start building your diggers. So hopefully that makes sense. It gets you set up ready to have a successful perimeter experience. Catch me in the next video where we go over actually building the digger. Okay, so thank you guys for all the support. I hope you enjoyed this movie. Please press like and subscribe for future Minecraft content, especially on the PS4. This is Trav.